I started my business back in 1985, and I started out of necessity because I didn't have a job. PS Energy started off providing just fuel services to companies and actually convenience stores, people that would use fuel. And we later matured into a company that offered fuel and fueling services only to Fortune 100, 500 companies, in addition to value-added services that would help them manage the fuel they use like an asset as opposed to just an expense. The challenges that we faced have been many. Obtaining credit lines is a huge challenge, and it'll continue to be because the more you grow, the more money you need. I was very young. I was a 20-something-year-old woman, and they didn't have any idea that I even knew what I was doing. So that in itself was very difficult to overcome also. What I'm doing now in response to things, margins getting thinner, markets getting more competitive, is I am doing more planning. And stop and take a breath and say, I think that's a good idea, because face it, most of us think our ideas are pretty good. I've had to step back and say, but will my customer think it's a good idea? And that's taken a little bit of discipline to do. In 1994, 95, they had deployed generators during a hurricane, and what they didn't anticipate was that the generators would at some point run out of fuel. So they did not have a systematic and elegant way to deploy fueling assets to keep the generators fuel in order to keep the communication lines going. So that's when we first started our emergency fueling program with AT&T. We have demonstrated that we have never once let them down. They have never run out of fuel. We have fueled some 750,000 vehicle separate fill-ups. We have performed the equivalent of probably 3 to 4 trips around the world in mileage with fueling just for emergencies. Anytime I pop up and think of something that I think would be novel or good to do or good to provide for AT&T, we'll call them and let them know what we're thinking to be able to add value to what we do for them. If I had to say something that was pertinent to a growing MBE business, I would say do it now and talk about it later. It's always better to act upon something instead of tossing it around, discussing it, and especially if you're small and nimble. Don't be afraid to come up with an idea and make a little bit of a stumble if you have to, and then back up and regroup and modify. That's what I did. I started selling fuel to anybody that would buy it, and I lost some money to some people that I had no business selling to because I was after the volume. Well, I learned better, and I quit going after the volume and started going after the relationships and try to keep them active and nurtured.